Did you know that not all firearms are rendered useless underwater? In fact, there's one extraordinary creation that pushes beyond what we think guns are capable of. Brace yourself. There's a firearm specifically designed to fire bullets underwater, in an environment where traditional firearms simply fail. Meet the APS underwater rifle, a weapon born to accomplish the impossible. But how is this even feasible? And what makes this firearm so mind-bogglingly unique? Well, sit tight, because you're about to find out. Usually, when you submerge a standard firearm into water, things don't go as planned. That's because of basic physics. Water is 800 times denser than air, and upon firing a regular bullet underwater, the dense liquid resists the bullet's movement, drastically shortens its range, and can even render the firearm itself damaged or dangerous to use. So, how did scientists and engineers overcome this universal barrier? Let's rewind to the 1970s. The Soviet Union was immersed in the heat of the Cold War, and underwater combat was becoming a possible reality. Divers, whether for reconnaissance or sabotage, were at risk from enemy divers or underwater submersibles. Traditional firearms simply didn't make the cut for this kind of unconventional combat scenario. Enter the APS rifle, affectionately nicknamed the Underwater Kalashnikov. This name alone should give you an idea of its revolutionary roots, a rifle that could perform where no firearm dared to operate before. The APS, which stands for Avtomat Podvodny Specjalny, or Special Underwater Assault Rifle, was developed to specifically counter threats under the sea. What sets it apart is its use of large, dart-shaped steel bullets, known as flechettes. These flechettes were designed to cut through water without losing momentum. Unlike conventional bullets, these darts create much less turbulence in water, allowing them to maintain enough velocity to cover a significant distance. When fired underwater, these flechettes can travel as far as 30 meters at shallow depths and about 11 to 15 meters at deeper levels. That may not sound like much compared to firing in air, but for underwater combat, it's an achievement nothing short of miraculous. Now, let's talk mechanics. The APS rifle employs a genius, yet surprisingly simple gas-operated firing mechanism. However, it has one major difference from traditional firearms. It uses a longer gas piston stroke. This ensures the firearm operation is maintained even when water enters the barrel and firing chamber. Combine this design with its specialized flechettes, and you've got a lethal weapon that can hold its own in the dense medium of water. Of course, designing and perfecting a weapon to work in water raises challenges you can't even imagine. First and foremost, the ballistic trajectory of bullets underwater is highly sensitive to the density of the water and the pressure at varying depths. The Soviet engineers had to precisely calibrate how much propellant would be used for these flechettes to achieve a balance between power and safety. Too much force on the flechette's propulsion, and the gun's barrel might rupture under pressure. Too little force, and the darts wouldn't have the reach needed for combat. This was a tightly controlled balancing act that required unmatched precision and expertise. But there's another question you might have. What happens to the APS rifle if it's brought to the surface? Well, here's the catch. The gun faces limitations when taken out of its underwater element. Above water, the APS's long, dart-like bullets lack the accuracy and range of conventional bullets. In essence, what makes the APS special under the sea leaves it relatively average or even subpar on land. That's why the rifle comes with a unique trade-off. It's exceptional for its intended niche, but not as versatile as you might expect for traditional firing scenarios. Still, that doesn't make it any less remarkable. Modern militaries have begun to develop newer technology and underwater weapons, but the APS remains one of the pioneers in the field. It essentially opened the door to an entirely new way for us to think about firearms, reminding us that physics is only limiting if we accept it that way. From Soviet combat divers to its influence on the design of modern underwater firearms like the Heckler & Koch P11, the legacy of the APS rifle looms large over the still developing field of underwater weaponry. let's reflect on the bigger picture for a moment. The APS rifle wasn't just about creating a weapon. It was about challenging the norm, about doing the unthinkable when it seemed out of reach. It shows that innovation doesn't stop at obstacles, even when those obstacles are as omnipresent and powerful as water. The APS was proof that with ingenuity and determination, we can stretch the boundaries of possibility. As you look back through history and marvel at the feats of engineering behind firearms, you'll find tales of resilience and brilliance like this over and over again. The APS is a testament to the fact that the world of firearms is vast, fascinating, and full of puzzles that most people wouldn't think twice about solving. So the next time you're by a pool, an ocean, or even watching an underwater dive on TV, think about this. There's a gun that thrives in places others would instantly fail. Let that sink in. Yes, today it seems like something out of science fiction, but it's very much a reality. And there you have it, the APS underwater rifle, a weapon that defies physics, laughs in the face of impossibility, and stands as one of the marvels of firearm engineering. If that didn't amaze you, we promise you're going to want to stick around for the next episode in our Firearms series because these stories just keep getting wilder. Until then, stay curious, stay amazed, and we'll see you next time.